So my name is Yannick Gontier, like Bogdan said. I run a small company called WeeblrPress. We do plugins for WordPress. I run this company with my wife, who is hiding on the side here because she doesn't want to be mentioned, but I do mention her. So over the last 2 years, we have amassed some experience with AMP and on WordPress, and this is what I'm going to talk about today. Never works. Okay, that's good. So, first of all, a very quick survey maybe. Who here is somewhat familiar with AMP, has installed the plugin or used it for customers' websites maybe? Who's doing that? Okay, so not so many. The end of the introduction, I'm a plugin developer. I'm only doing GPL license, open source plugins. I've been doing this professionally since 2006. And this is the plugin I was talking about, WeeblrAMP. This is our own implementation of AMP on WordPress. And this is a WP Engine preferred plugin. So we're just going very quickly to see what is AMP. Why would you want to use it? It's not suited for every site, so maybe sometimes some of you would want AMP, some of you is not going to be a good thing for you. And then how we can implement properly AMP on WordPress sites. So what is it? I've decided that the easiest thing is to show it to you. We are doing here a research on Google. The language doesn't matter. And we found this is typically what happens for people on their phone. You search for something, you click, and then most sites take forever to launch and run. With AMP, you do the same research. We scroll down, we're going to scroll down, see an AMP result, which is not here, and we get the result immediately, instantly. So this is what AMP is all about. This is why Google started this project some 2 years ago, because they want that. They want sites that display very quickly, almost instantly, for people who are looking at results on their phone. I'm sure you know. I think I can play it again. So you've seen plenty of these sites, I guess. When you're on your phone, when it's only a 2G network or 3G network, very slow, then they take forever. This site here has plenty of JavaScript, plenty of CSS. It takes forever. There you have pop-ups that comes right in the middle to ask you for your email address to register for something. That's a pain, and we don't want that anymore. It's 2018. You're competing with mobile apps. You're doing websites, but those are competing with mobile apps. So we want things that are really, really quick. So to achieve that, at the end of 2015, Google designed a set of specification, and AMP really is a set of specification. It's a set of rules that says, okay, websites are good. We want to keep doing websites, but when we use HTML and JavaScript and CSS, we have to follow some rules so that the sites we build are really fast. And AMP, at the heart, is a set of rules to build websites using only HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. Initially, it was meant for mobile devices, for telephones, for mobile phones. It works just as well on desktop. This is something we are pushing now for. Like AMP is really is getting into a framework that you can use to build an entire website. Currently, most people will have existing WordPress site, and then the AMP version is going to be like a separate site. We're going to see. So for each page, there is a something that lives parallel to your page. You have your WordPress site. It still exists, and then a plugin typically is going to be installed, and this plugin is going to make the AMP version of any page you have on your site. There's a link inserted into the regular page that tells Google and Baidu and others, this page has an AMP version, and it's living at this address. Go there. This is what you see here. I have a website with a My Page link, whatever that is. And then the AMP version, most of the time, is going to be here, the same URL with AMP at the end. So these are really two different pages, and the second page is made by the plugin you have on your site. So this is what it is like. Who is using AMP? Well, basically, search engines, Google, Bing, and Baidu, which is the main Chinese search engines, are using AMP, which means you could say probably 99% of the search engines in the world are using AMP. So that's a big factor. Nowadays, if you share a link on Twitter and the people who are looking at the link are on the mobile phone, they're going to have the AMP version as well. Same for Medium, Tumblr, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Feedly. So all these sites, they are preferring the AMP version of your site, and this is why you would want to use AMP. Providing AMP content, when we got initially, it was mostly news sites like The Guardian, BuzzFeed, Reddit, WordPress.com. They were all providing AMP pages. Over last year, big e-commerce sites like Shopify, eBay, and WooCommerce started producing AMP pages as well. So it's really generic now. You can do pretty much any type of sites with AMP pages. Why would you want to have pages? It's some work. You have to work on it. So why would you want to install AMP on your site? Again, this is the same reason. This is an example with the Irish Times, which is a big newspaper in Ireland. On the fast 3G, when you load the Irish Times on the phone, after 3 seconds, you got pretty much this. So you got pretty much nothing. You just see a skeleton here. And it takes all of 12 seconds for the site to be fully loaded with all its JavaScript, with all the CSS and everything. It takes 7 seconds to have something that's pretty much okay. So that's very long, waiting 7 seconds to see a page showing on your phone when you're in a rush. The AMP version, the same site, after 3 seconds, you've got the most important parts, which are there. And after 5 seconds, you've got the entire page. And this is when you just look at the AMP page directly with the URL, with the AMP at the end. If you look at it from Google or from Bing, they will cache that version of the page. And so when you search for something like Rory Scannell, I have no idea who that guy is, but if you search for that guy, you get this result in Google, and you click on the link, you're going to have what I show at the beginning, which is a page that shows instantly. So this is very good. This is good for users because pages displays instantly. And this is good for you because when you have a fast site, then you have more views, you have more clicks on your pages, you get more conversions. So this is the main reason to have AMP on your site. In terms of SEO, I was just discussing that with Katalin just earlier. One thing that's very important to understand is that it's not a ranking factor. So AMP, if you install AMP on your site, you're not going to move from page 3 in Google to page 1. That's not how it works. There are several benefits, SEO benefits in doing that. The first one is here. What you see here is what's called the AMP carousel. In a normal Google results page, if there are some conditions, but if you have an AMP version of your site, it might be displayed like this. With a big image, a big card with a symbol, a big title, etc. So, and in your name here. And I'm sure you realize that if you're in the results here and your own result is displayed like this, then it's much more visible than the regular results here. So that's huge. That's huge because people are going most likely to click on this result rather than this one because the presentation is much nicer. And the result is that the conversion rate is much better. You have much better results on mobile devices with AMP pages than with other type of whatever technology you use. We now have, I'm going to go quickly through that, but there is data available from the last 8 to 12 months that shows that people actually like that. This is just a survey that shows that basically people want more than half of the people prefer a page that is simpler but that loads fast on their phone. It's a fact, they like that. We also have from Search Engine Land, which is a big SEO site in the US, some actual data with a large number of sessions increase, people coming from Google. This was for a shoe retailer, a website selling shoes. So there's more traffic coming from Google, and there's more action from the customers. People click more, they buy more, they register more for newsletter, whatever you're after. And this one is a little less nice to look at, but it's another study by Stone Temple, which is another big SEO firm in the US. And they have made extended studies on various types of websites, media, tickets, retail, ordinary retail, real estate, media, and so on. And they all experience various degrees of increase in conversions, in sales, in registrations, and so on. So I hope you got the point that a good implementation of AMP is going to bring you more results, conversion. So assuming you want to do that now, here is the key points on how to do it. If you go to look at the websites for AMP, it's going to be, it's a bit frightening because it says things like you're not allowed anymore to use images, for instance. You have to use AMP images instead. So likewise for video and analytics, you've got a whole bunch of restrictions on what you can do. You cannot use any JavaScript. So I don't know how many developers are here, but it's frightening for developers when you tell them you can't use any JavaScript to do things on your site. No external CSS. Likewise for the designers, you can't use any CSS. So that's pretty frightening for most people. No form, no iframes, at least not without any strict conditions. The good news is, so this is really bad, and if you want to hand code AMP on your site, which is absolutely possible, it's going to be really tricky. The thing is, there are plugins for most CMSs, goods and bad. So it's quite easier, actually. It's quite easy. Automatic, the company behind WordPress, was involved in the project at the beginning, so they have an AMP plugin that's on the repository, and you can download for free. It's really basic. It does what it does. It converts on the fly pages, like I explained in the beginning. The problem with that plugin is it's too simple. So it does conversion, but it removes pretty much everything. It's going to remove your logo. It's going to remove most of the page, and that's really bad experience for the user because nothing much is left. There are a couple of more advanced plugins, and I hope the one we do is one of them, which make things much easier for developers and integrators. But I'm not going to talk about it. No, it's not about really our plugin. So I'm going to continue with two types of things. The things if you want to get into AMP, the things you have to pay attention to, the things you should do, and the things you should not do. First, the things you have to do, it's obvious, but you need to define a strategy. Why do you want to do AMP? And maybe at the end of the list, what do you want? Do you want to display ads, sign up for our newsletters, new accounts, or things like that? You need navigation, menus, you need search, you need that sort of things. And maybe at the end of the list, you're going to decide that AMP is not for you, and that's quite okay. But for most people, it's going to be a good solution. So the first advice I have for you is that when you start implementing AMP, you have to amplify pretty much everything, as much as you can. There are some parts of your site that maybe you're not going to be able to turn into AMP because you need JavaScript, you need too much JavaScript. There's no equivalent in AMP. So maybe this page you're not going to amplify it. But most of the time, I will advise to stay AMP as much as possible. Convert as many pages as you can. Not everybody agree with that. So some people say, I just want to have one page which is AMP when I come from Google or Bing. And all the links on that page should bring me back to my normal site. I disagree with that, but I just thought I would mention it from a marketing standpoint. And the user experience standpoint, I think it's best to be AMP all the way. The second thing you have to pay attention to a lot is that you need to have interactive AMP pages. You need to have menus, you need to have a search function. If you have a newsletter sign-up form on your site, you need to have a newsletter sign-up form on your AMP version. You need to bring all the things that interact with your customers, you need to bring them along on your AMP page. Likewise, if you have an e-commerce, you need to have an add to cart button that works. You need to be able to navigate through products on the AMP version. If you have a blog, people can leave comments, then they should be able to leave comments on your AMP page as well. So it really has to be really similar. Yeah, that's what I wrote here. The AMP experience must be really similar to your standard website experience. I'll see what's the of that page. Likewise, you need to pay attention to design, but design doesn't mean that it has to be pretty. Design in that case means that it needs to be, the AMP version needs to be similar to your standard website, to your regular website. So that when basically, ideally, if a user sees your normal website and the AMP version, they should not recognize the difference. It should be really similar. At least it needs to be using the same colors, it needs to have a menu, it needs to have search function, it needs to have the same logo, obviously. We'll see bad examples of that later. Like I said, nearly everything is possible now. You can have tabs, you can have slideshows, you can have many things in a very simple way. Here are a few examples of things you can do. Those are all AMP sites, so you can see forms, comments, we discuss, we can navigate through other posts. Here with the links you can share with the usual networks. All of that is, there's a menu here, there's a search function here. All of that is standard, it's done by plugins automatically. Just pay attention pay attention to that and do it. Another example with e-commerce, you can have don't pay attention to the styling, it's just a sample. However, you can see the features, menus, sharing buttons, sorting, items in carts, everything. It's fully functional. That's really what you want to do. Here is an example. That's the customer's alerts. Presley Collectibles. And it's a full e-commerce site that works only on AMP. It's a nice implementation. It doesn't have to be fancy. It's just it works well. Here, those are non-WordPress. There's eBay. eBay has added AMP to all their product pages. So if you look at eBay on a phone, most likely you're looking at an AMP page. In short, as much AMP as possible, really interactive, forms, signups, and personalize. Make the AMP version as close as possible as your standard version. So now, those are the things you should do, the things you should not do. What you should not do is this. Okay, that's the worst possible thing to do, and it might not be obvious, but what is this? This is what happens when you go to the WordPress plugins repository, you search for AMP, then you get the automatic standard AMP plugin, you install it, you enable it, and you say, okay, I have done AMP, I'm good. You're not good. You will, if you do that, then this is what you get. A blue header, a title of an article, the name of the user, and just text. And the thing is, maybe 500,000 websites have done that, and 500, your competition has done that as well. And all these results are the same. They don't look at all like your standard website, and you don't differentiate yourself from all the others. So that's really the worst possible thing to do. In addition, let's say you have on your standard site, you have a pop-up that comes that asks people for their email to register for your newsletter, for instance, something that happens. Or even if it's not a pop-up, you have a form to collect emails. If you install the base plugin, you don't have that anymore. And there's a famous example here. Maybe some of you know, I've heard about Kinsta.com. It's a big hosting company in the US. They've done just that. They wanted to be first, so they installed the plugin and they said, we're done. And what they saw is actually a decrease in people registering for their newsletters and signing up for new accounts. And they had a big blog post about that, and they were surprised. But it's really simple. On their AMP form, which is what people were now seeing when searching on mobile, they didn't have a newsletter sign-up form. And they didn't have a form to create accounts. So of course, they had less accounts and less sign-ups for their newsletters. So that's really something, one of the biggest mistakes you can do. If you have done that, the 2 people who had installed AMP already, just remove it. Or go further and do customizations, add forms, add styling, add logos, add colors, but don't just install the plugin and be done with it. That's bad. Second thing you have to pay attention to if you go just a bit further and actually implement AMP. AMP is a specification, so there are rules, and you have to comply with those rules. So your pages have to be valid. They have to, Google in particular will run them through a tester, and only the pages that are valid will be included in the search results. So if you do all of that basically to be included in the search results, if your pages are not valid, if there's a small syntax error or something, they will not take them into account. So you need to test. It's easy. There's this website. You just give them a URL, and they will tell you this page is okay, it's AMP, it's valid, or it's wrong and there's something wrong with that and you need to fix it. Just test your pages. Once you have installed, you need to do this testing. There's an AMP extension for Chrome, which is very useful because you just go to an AMP page and it turns green if the page is okay, and it turns red if the page is not okay, invalid. And if you click on it, it will tell you what are the problems on the page. So it's really, really easy to test doing that. Another thing you have to pay attention to, it's more recent. You need to have roughly the same content on your standard website and your AMP page. Some people thought it was too hard to do AMP properly on their sites. So what they were doing is they had a simple AMP page, for instance, with just the beginning of an article, and they then added a button saying click here to see the full article, and that was going to the standard website. And that they don't like. Google said this is wrong, and they are now putting a penalty on that, which means your AMP pages are not going to be used. So again, you're just wasting your time and efforts if you're doing that. You need to have about the same content on your regular pages and your AMP pages. Lastly, no, it's not the last one. There's analytics. There's a small trick. You need to use a specific client ID API. I don't want to get into the details, but it's just you just need to pay attention to that. Our plugin is doing it. We need to add a specific analytics instruction in the code so that it works with AMP. And this code has to be also added to your standard pages, to your regular pages. Good analytics plugin for WordPress are going to do that anyway. Just pay attention. Sorry, that it's there. I mentioned that earlier. Your content, your AMP pages might be displayed by Google from their cache. They are caching, storing your AMP pages so that they can display them very quickly when you're on the search page, in the search results. It means the URL of the page is not going to be on your site. It's not going to be yours. It's going to be the URL of Google cache. It's not a problem really. But you need to pay attention when people are going to share your pages with to Facebook or Twitter or something. You don't want really that they share the Google cache URL. It means you need to have your own sharing buttons, like in the examples I displayed earlier. I had sharing buttons for Facebook, Twitter, and so on. So you need to have that. So because the plugin is going to be to make sure that the URL is the one on your site. It's your own URL and not that of Google. Lastly, if you want to be in the carousel in the Google search results, there are a few things you need to do. You need to have some specific metadata in the page. The plugin is going to take care of that. Again, that's not something that you have in the base plugin from Automatic. And you need to provide images for each post, each article that you want to be in the carousel. You need to provide an image, and for some very strange reason, that image needs to be 696 pixels wide and nothing less. So just pay attention to that again. It's important. Likewise, you need to provide a publisher logo, and that publisher logo must be 60 pixels in height. Don't ask me why. It's like that. You need to pay attention to it. Otherwise, your results are not going to be displayed in the carousel, and you'll be wasting your time again. So this is my sort of summary of AMP. If you're into SEO, if you're looking for things that can improve your results this year and next year, because we're just at the beginning of that, implementing AMP is really something that will cost very little and give results right away. So I'm very much in favor of that. That's why I got into developing a plugin for it, because it's good for SEO. Initially, I'm an SEO guy. Do not just install a plugin. Do not just install the free plugin. You can absolutely work with the free plugin on the plugin repository. That's fine. But if you do that, then you need to pay attention to doing some customization, adding forms, adding menus, adding analytics, adding everything that makes it a real website. Do that. That's what I'm saying here. Add forms. If you have forms, you need to have forms on the AMP version as well. If you have an add to cart and you're doing e-commerce, the AMP version must have add to cart. So use advanced plugins or do some custom development. That's the key point for me. Okay, just to finish off, I have here, first thing, these slides, they are at this address. There's a short address, WeeblrPress.com/QR. So you can just go there and have them. And here you got a few links. These are the links for the AMP project. This is the first one here is about the specifications and the more technical documentation and technical details. This one here, ampbyexample.com, is an AMP site. It's fully AMP. There is no standard website, and it shows everything that can be done with AMP. This is to convince people that basically AMP is okay to do pretty much any type of queries. This is our website with the plugin, the page for the plugin we are doing. And if you want to go deeper, this was like a quick presentation. If you want to go deeper, here I have selected 2 talks by famous SEO people that talks about AMP really with much details and a lot of data about the results you can get and what the problems are and what you need to pay attention to. So you got also short addresses, WeeblrPress.com/h8 and WeeblrPress.com/hd. And you go there, and that will link you to these presentations. So that's pretty much it for me.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. If you have any questions.
Do we have any questions for Yannick? Okay, please, Julia.
Yep.
Well, you said that the pages that are not valid will not be generating an AMP
Yes.
So what I want to understand what happens with a site that has partially pages that have AMP versions and other pages are not optimized. So how do you navigate from, for example, you get from a search result on a page that is optimized. From that page, you're navigating to other AMP versions of the pages, right?
It's your choice. You can. It's your content. So you're in search results. You click. You get into the first AMP landing page if you want. And then on this page you got menus and you got other links maybe. So in the standard plugin, the AMP plugin, these links they are going to go not to AMP pages. They are going to go to standard site pages, which is okay. In our plugin, it's your choice. You have you click on buttons and you decide I want to use AMP pages, or in links I want to use AMP pages, or I want to link to the standard version. And like you remember that slide I had, I recommend to go to AMP pages. Keep AMP because it's fast. And if you have the first page that loads very quickly, and you click on a button or you click on link and it's very slow, then the user is not happy with that, and the conversion goes down. And you had part of your question was about validation also.
Yes.
So the validation is really page by page. So if you have 100 pages which are valid and 1 page which is invalid, there's a mistake, it's fine. Only this single page is not going to be displayed in the search engine results. And the 100 valid pages are going to be showing fine. So it's
Okay.
yeah, it's page by page.
If you decide that for most of the pages you want to display when navigating from one page to another, you opt for this version to always navigate to an AMP version. Is this going to be updated on the fly? Like when you create new valid pages, those would get automatically referenced in the
Yes.
AMP
Absolutely.
versions?
If you are so, I don't know the numbers for Bing and other search results, but for Google, what they'll do is each time someone is clicking on your page in the search results, they are going to test to check. They display the page they have in cache, and then they in the background they go and check whether the page has been changed. So pretty much, it's always going to be up to date. Always. They have a cache, but by default it's 15 seconds. So if you made a change, like if you make a change every hour, it's going to be looking like it's instant. They'll always have the updated version.
Okay.
So it's really not a problem.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anyone else? Other question? Please.
Same with the validation, but validation for the plugin. The plugin, you said it has, you recommend to us a module for Chrome extension for
Yes.
to validate the links. But if I use this plugin, it will show in the dashboard that it is validated?
No, the plugin, the validation is a bit complex, so we don't do that in the plugin. What we do, we have what we call a debug mode or a development mode.
Yeah.
And when you are in development mode, at the top of the page, of the AMP page, we insert a button, and then there you can click, and this takes you to the URL I showed, and yeah, directly it gives the address, everything, and so you click on that button. So we don't do the validation, but you just have to click on the button, and it takes you to Google, and you see immediately whether it's good or not good. And if you use the Chrome extension, you go to your own page, and if it's green, it's fine. So you don't even need our plugin. It's just, but you do need to go page by page. We don't have something that will look at all the pages and tells you, oh wait, you have 2,000 pages that are good, but this one is wrong. We don't do that.
Maybe you have a Safari user or a Firefox user, so for that
I have no idea, but I think it should be it should happen because Firefox had just an update, 57 and so on.
Yeah.
And now they are using the same extensions format as Chrome is doing. More or less, it's JavaScript based and so on. So I'm pretty sure there will be something happening very
It
quickly.
will be cross-platform.
Yeah. So it should happen, I think, for Firefox as well. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.